I've been doing 3-day water fast for over 10 years. And recently I did a 3-day water fast and got phenomenal results. I want to share with you the results, but I also want to share with you the why. Why do I do water fasting and why do I think it'll be beneficial for you? And then the other thing is I want to share with you step by step the process I take in order to ensure my success during the water fast and get these amazing results. So let's go ahead and jump into the why. Now, I water fast for many reasons. Now, one, it's research proven to help avoid cardiovascular disease, be cancer protective, because when you're fasting, what happens is this autophagy process goes in and it cleans up the different cancerous cells in your body, which is really important. You know, the fact is that all of us try to live healthy lives, but the reality that we face is that cancer still exists. So I'll do anything I can to avoid cancer. It always just kills me to see somebody who puts a lot of effort into their health find out that they have cancer. Well, fasting is very cancer protective. So this process of fasting is what I'll use in order to activate autophagy in my body, break down those cancerous cells, and then build new ones. And then, of course, it's really good for your metabolic health. So if you want to lower your cholesterol, lower your blood pressure, improve your insulin sensitivity, this is a great reason to do fasting. And most of us could benefit greatly from that. The other thing that you'll find is when you're fasting is that your body actually turns from being a sugar burner, so burning glucose for energy, to actually burning fat for energy. So it actually is a really good process that will help start burning the fat off your body. If you're looking to just lean up, burn fat, and then of course maintain muscle, fasting is really good for that. So that's one of the really core reasons I love to do fasting. Now for me, fasting always serves as a good reset. So, you know, in life, we develop bad habits. I mean, when you look at most people who are suffering from chronic disease today, it has to do with them developing bad habits that pretty much took over their life. As in, you became addicted to sugar, you became addicted to ultra processed foods and sugary drinks, and then you never broke that addiction. And so whenever you're fasting, it serves as a really good reset to break all the addictions that you have to caffeine and all the things that aren't serving your health in a good positive way. So I love fasting for that reason, the reset. And then of course, you know what? I develop symptoms and aches and pains and issues just like everyone else does. And whenever I fast, I feel so much better. Whenever I start to develop a lot of symptoms, I'm just not feeling right, one of the things I always go back to is let's go ahead, do a 3-day water fast, allow my body to heal, and then let's see how I come out the other end of it. And I'm always very impressed with the amount of healing that takes place when you're doing this 3-day water fast. Now, let's talk about the leading up to the fast, because preparation is really, really important. Now, one of the things that I like to do is about a week prior to fasting is I like to make sure that I'm focusing on going sugar-free. This is really important because when you're fasting and you're not consuming any food at all, when you're not getting that sugar, one of the things that can happen is it can make you feel really, really awful. You get this flu-like symptom that will start to pop up. And so going sugar-free about a week out prior to the fast is really helpful for you. And I mean like really cutting out any sugar other than maybe some fruits, okay? Coming from, let's say, berries, which are a low glycemic fruit. So go sugar-free, and then also start cutting caffeine. Cutting caffeine is really important because if you don't cut caffeine going into the fast, you will develop probably a really nasty headache from not drinking caffeine while fasting. Now, we'll talk about caffeine a little bit further in just a moment, how you can use it while fasting. But for me, preferably, I like to cut the caffeine out just because I'm going into that fasting process, trying to do a true fast as much as possible because I want to get the best results. And once again, I want the best results for you. So that's why I'm explaining it like this. Now, the other thing I do is I start drinking lots of electrolytes, okay? I want to really start pushing the electrolytes in my body because they're going to become very important for me during this fasting time. And then the other reason that I'm doing all of these things together, cutting out sugar, cutting out caffeine, and pushing the electrolytes is because during the fast, if you don't do that, you're far more likely to develop fatigue issues. You're more likely to develop headaches, which is pretty awful. And if you followed me for a long time, you know that I work a lot of really long hours in patient care. And this is devastating to me if I'm fasting and I start developing headache issues and really bad fatigue issues. And quite frankly, when this happens, I have to abort the fast because I have to be able to show up and be very, very focused and alert while I'm doing patient care. So I try to avoid this at all costs so I don't have to abort mission like day 1 or day 2. Then, of course, this leads us into day 1 and what I do leading up into day 1 so that I can get the best results. Now, day 1, first thing in the morning, I exercise. And I typically exercise just as hard as I normally would. And this is because at this point, day 1, you're technically not fasting, right? Like you ate the night before, now it's the next day. So you can exercise as you normally do. The harder you push yourself in exercise at this point, the more likely you are to get into the state of ketosis much quicker. Now, if you're not familiar with the state of ketosis, essentially that's when your body goes from being a sugar burner to a fat burner. And that's what you want because that's when a lot of healing starts to take place in the brain and the whole body. So ketosis and getting into ketosis is a very good thing. Now, at this point, of course, day 1, we're not eating, we're only drinking electrolytes, and I really encourage you to push the electrolytes, make sure you're staying very well hydrated. It's a very, very important factor to not only avoiding headaches, but also having your energy level stay up. The other thing that I do on day 1 is I'm, of course, caffeine free at this point. And then one of the things that I'll do that's a little bit unique is I'll actually use some exogenous ketones. Now, exogenous ketones are going to help me get into the state of ketosis faster. It also can help avoid the keto flu. So the keto flu is what happens when you go from being a sugar burner to a place of ketosis. And whenever you're going through that transition, essentially you can develop these flu-like symptoms where you'll just get a headache, you'll feel fatigued, you'll ache all over. It just isn't a pleasant feeling. Using exogenous ketones can help bridge that gap. And so one of the things that I'll do is I'll use some exogenous ketones, and it also helps just keep my energy up during this time. Now, day 1 of the fast, I typically feel a little bit more fatigued towards the second half of the day, and I'm certainly dealing with a little bit of the hunger issue, more so mentally than physically, right? I'm not getting really bad hunger pains that are, disrupting me, but mentally it's like all I can think about is food. And quite frankly, that's just a general survival mechanism. Don't read into it too much. It's just our body going like, hey, we need some food here. And of course, you're still breaking through all those addictions. If you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, if you're consuming a lot of sugar, if you're, drinking caffeine regularly, like these are some of the addictions that you will probably still be fighting through this process. And so they just kind of wear on you mentally. And then quite frankly, human beings, we're creatures of habit. So essentially what happens is we go back to our like, hey man, I really enjoy having that coffee in the morning. I really enjoy sitting down with my family and having dinner. And so those habits and those things that we do every day are hard to break as well. So you tend to have that weigh on you a little bit, but this all leads us into day 2. Now, day 2, same thing. I will get up and I will exercise. Now, typically my exercise is getting far lighter at this point because I haven't eaten in all that time. So therefore, I'm not too worried about pushing myself to any type of extreme. This is a time of healing for me. So what I might do is just go for a really nice walk, and I'll do some meditation. I'll do some deep breathing exercises. Once again, this is a healing time, and I take that seriously. So that is what my exercise will probably look at like on day 2. And then I also do no caffeine. Now I wanted to focus in on the caffeine piece just a little bit. Some people will do caffeine while fasting. I don't think it's a bad thing. And when I say caffeine, I mean just like a plain old black coffee. I don't think that's bad. However, it's just not for me. I prefer to do no caffeine, no black coffee during this time. So therefore, I'm gonna go caffeine free. Now, here's the thing. If you have a really strong caffeine addiction issue, there's a good chance you may deal with some headache problems. And so if that's you, you could add in a little bit of caffeine, some in the way of black coffee, black tea, something like that. And that will help you just kind of, propel yourself forward and stay functioning and also stay feeling good. Now, when I did my last fast, day 2, I felt fantastic. I was doing really good. And typically how I feel is I'll have a lot of energy in the morning, and that energy will dissipate as the day goes on. And so that's a little bit of a struggle for me. Now, I still try not to use caffeine, and I just kind of push through. Once again, it's very important to me that I stay sharp and I stay, mentally there, and also have the energy to be able to perform as I need to when I'm doing patient care. So sometimes, once again, I may use a little bit of exogenous ketones, and I'm okay with that because they're very healing anyway. Now, Same process, lots of water, lots of electrolytes. Now, when I did my last fast, I slept really, really poorly between that day 1 and day 2 transition, and that always happens to me. I'll have some nights where I sleep amazing, and I'll have some nights that I sleep so poorly, and it doesn't ever really make sense. Sometimes it's day 1, sometimes it's day 2, but you know what, as you're changing just how your body physiologically is functioning that much over that 3-day period, there's a good chance that it will alter your sleep. But of course, I do anything I can. I'll even sometimes take a little bit of magnesium in order to help me sleep well through the night. Now, this all leads us into day 3. And day 3 is really the same process because we're still doing the same thing. I exercise, probably keeping it pretty light. And this last time on day 3, I did some very light weightlifting, focusing more on lighter weights in just a few more reps. Okay, so some light weightlifting, same thing, pushing the electrolytes, and I felt great on this last fast. You know, sometimes when you're fasting, being that I've done a lot of them, you know, you'll have this fatigue factor. You don't particularly feel well on the fast. This last fast I did, I felt so stinking good. I felt like I could have fasted for a week and it wouldn't have affected me at all. So I was feeling really good energy. Still the same thing, because you're not eating, you wake up full of energy and it dissipates quite rapidly throughout the afternoon. But overall, I felt really good. I had a good night's sleep leading from day 2 to day 3. And then this all leads to breaking the fast. Now, when I break my fast on day 3, there's a few things I like to focus on. I like to focus on getting a lot of probiotic rich foods in. I like to eat things that are really easy on my gut. And then I also like to just go really light. So things that are really good as far as probiotics are going to be eating things like sauerkraut, kimchi. I like to have maybe some fermented pickles. You could have cheese if you're not sensitive to dairy, that sort of thing, but I like to have a lot of fermented foods. It's really good time to reset your gut. The other thing that I like to do is have something that's very easy on my gut. So like a bone broth stew is really good. Some steamed vegetables are really good, but nothing harsh on my gut. And then also just keep it light. It's very easy to go from that place where you're fasting and not eating for many days and just want to slam yourself with food. But that's not an ideal thing. In fact, it'll probably make you feel really crummy. So go really light on that first meal. And so break your fast and then you just go back into regular eating. And right after my fast, I like to actually go into a situation where I am eating like 3 solid meals a day, because whenever you're doing things like fasting, you don't ever want to push it to the extreme to where your body starts to kind of go into this starving mode. So after I do a 3-day fast, I basically go right back into eating 3 meals a day to tell my body, hey, we're not starving, everything is fine. Now let's talk about the results I got with my fasting. So this time when I did my 3-day water fast, I really got amazing results. Going into the fast, I felt very sluggish. I felt that I had no energy. I felt that my brain fog was off the charts. My mood was really poor. I had tons of aches and pains, and I was not liking how I was feeling. And this is one of the reasons I can go into a fast with so much certainty and like discipline to go through that fast and not quit and not cheat, because I'm like, I want to feel better and I need the benefits that this fast has. So during this last fast, I had a huge decrease in pain. And the reason that this happens is because inflammation is a huge driver of pain in the body. When you go through a fast, you really downregulate that inflammation in the body, which makes pretty much all your joints and everything just feel better and function better. And so I felt so much more loose and better and had a huge reduction in joint pain. So a lot of inflammation was decreased. And so that was amazing. Now I also had just this huge level of mental clarity that came out of it. Decreased brain fog, feeling really good. And to be clear, these results have lasted several weeks. It's not like, oh, well, you did this 3-day water fast and you had, 2 days of good results. No, these results have lasted. So that's one of the things that's amazing about fasting. So brain felt so much better. Cognitive abilities felt so much better. And then from there, my energy skyrocketed and my mood was way better. We can get in these places where, just a little bit more depressed, a little bit more anxious, where I came out of there just feeling like this enormous high of energy and positive attitude. So I was really happy with that. And once again, this is very well research proven to be the case. And this is because you're decreasing the amount of inflammation in the brain. And so therefore, your brain can actually function as it should. Your neurotransmitters in your brain start to balance out. And so this is why you can have a better mood. You can have better cognitive ability. You can feel more energized because your brain is now functioning better. Now, the other thing that can happen just in daily life is you can start to have, your hormones become imbalanced. And for me, I could definitely tell that my testosterone had taken a huge hit. And once again, I told you, I work a lot of hours, I have a lot of stress, I have 5 kids, there's a lot of things going on in my life. So therefore, like, it's very easy for me to kind of start to hit this fatigue factor. And so when I was doing the fasting, one of the things that I found is that, like, it really balanced out hormones again. And you can tell if you're a guy, like, if your testosterone plummets, it's just because it's like the level of like fatigue that you feel that you just can't overcome will hit you pretty hard. And so I can tell that I had this like huge testosterone boost from this. I thought about testing pre and post fasting to see what my testosterone was prior and after. I just didn't really have the time to do it, but I can tell you, as working with many people, in the symptoms that are associated with low testosterone, and then the symptoms that go away when you balance out your testosterone, I can tell you that I had a huge change. And so I definitely felt so much better coming off of that fast, because that is one of the things that happens, is that the fasting will help really balance out your hormones and boost those good hormones like testosterone if you're a guy that you're looking to have boosted. And of course, if you're a female, it may be just balancing out your hormones that maybe were being a little bit wonky through this whole process of living life, right? So I felt so good coming off of this fast, and mostly it was in the way of my energy and my positive attitude and how I felt with my joints and aches and pains going away. So I really saw positive results. Now, many people ask, well, how often would you fast? In an ideal situation, I would like to do a 3-day water fast once a month. And the reality is that that's typically hard for me, because, life is happening all the time. And quite frankly, it is just hard for me sometimes to jump into that discipline, because doing a 3-day water fast takes tremendous discipline, right? It's anybody who does it, I give you props for doing it, because it's hard to do. It's not, if it was easy, everybody would do it, and chronic disease would probably cut by about 80% or even 90%. But the fact is, it's a hard discipline to do. And so I'm not going to, act as if it's not, but it's hard to do. So therefore, in the perfect world, I'd like to do it about once a month, because I know that that's how I would feel the best. And then of course, that's how I would look the best, because when you're fasting, you come out of that fast with a glow. Your eyes are whiter, you feel fresh, your skin looks healthier, you cut fat from your body, you're leaner, you just come out looking better, feeling better. The whole thing all around really improves your life. And so I really encourage you to try a 3-day water fast. If you haven't done so, you probably should consult with your doctor. If you're taking medication or suffering from some sort of health condition, it's always a great and intelligent thing to do. But I really find that fasting can dramatically improve your life, because it has always helped to improve mine. I'm Dr. Nick Zyrowski. Thanks for sticking along on this journey with me. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.